Welcome to the Technology Pulse podcast, hosted by DALY Computers, providing comprehensive technology solutions to the public and private sectors for more than 35 years. Visit www.daly.com to learn more. Today's episode is brought to you by Wasp Barcode Technologies, a global leader in turnkey software and hardware solutions for inventory management and asset tracking applications. And now here's your host, Rick from DALY.
Joining us today on the Technology Pulse podcast, we have Ray Whitlock. Ray is the Channel Account Manager for Wasp Barcode Technologies. Ray, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Ray, we always like to start off with an easy question for our guests, but it's really more for the listeners to try to get them integrated because we do business here at DALY with a lot of great partners like Wasp. But we always like to make sure that our listeners and our customers and everybody who's interested knows who the partner is that we're talking to. So why don't you tell us who is Wasp?
Sure. So the official name of the company is Wasp Barcode Technologies. And so we were actually established in 1994. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Bill Clinton was in office around that time. So that's a pretty long time ago. But basically, we're a barcode solutions provider. We cover both hardware and software. So you can kind of consider us a complete solutions provider. And that's one of the things that really makes us unique because we develop our own software in-house. I'm talking asset management software, inventory tracking software, et cetera.
Okay. Now, so you're mentioning asset tracking and inventory tracking software as two separate things. I edify me a little bit on that because I thought they were the same thing. How are they different?
Sure. And Rick, that's a great question. It's something that we actually run into all the time with customers because you're right. Most people really don't know the difference. And so the difference is with the asset tracking software, that software is more designed to track what a company owns. So think about laptops, computers, office furniture, company vehicles, et cetera. So that's what the asset tracking software is designed to do. On the inventory side, that software is more designed to track what a company buys and sells to a customer. So think about a warehouse environment, retail stores like Walmart, Target, distribution centers, things of that nature. And also the inventory software, it also handles consumables. So think about a healthcare clinic and think about how a healthcare clinic might have a supply closet. And a supply closet might be full of gloves, medicine, needles, syringes, stuff like that. And so it's critical that they never run out of stock. I'll take this example. Let's just say you're in the backyard. You get bit by a snake, you have to rush to the hospital, and you get to the hospital and you find out they've ran out of vaccinations, they ran out of needles, you'll be in trouble. And so this software is doing very important work.
Yeah, it's an old joke that you never want to get bitten by a snake and not know the difference between the word anecdote and antidote because you really want them to give you that needle rather than a humorous story about something that happened during their day.
Absolutely, for sure.
Now, the interesting thing, so you're talking about inventory tracking, and this also very easily could, expand over into the SLED space because you've got school systems, they've got supplies that they're doling out to staff and faculty or even students. You get a lot of these school systems that have student stores. You have the different government agencies that, again, they have that supply closet that
Sure.
they're constantly trying to see, do we have toner or do we have paper or do we have this, do we have that? So that very easily could translate over into that space as well, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've actually helped out a lot of school districts. One that comes to mind that I work with is Houston ISD, Houston Independent School District. And their issue was, during the pandemic, they had to loan out lots of equipment to their students so their students could do their schoolwork from home, right? If you remember the pandemic. So So they were loaning out laptops and Chromebooks and stuff like that to their students, but they ran into a big problem because they were trying to track this stuff manually. So just imagine trying to loan out, thousands of Chromebooks and you're using Excel spreadsheets to keep track, right? That's a problem. And so as a result, they ended up losing over $10 million worth of equipment across the different schools in the Houston area. And so it just became a complete mess. They lost a lot of money. And the solution was, after they did some internet research, they ran into Wasp Barcode Technologies. They discovered our company. We jumped in there. We recommended our asset tracking software, and it's been a complete lifesaver for how they operate, as a school. And so now with the software, they're able to hold students accountable when they check stuff out. They know who it's going to. They know when it's due back. And so WASP has literally saved Houston ISD millions of dollars with our software solution. So that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're here to do. And just one more thing, I've got another client that I work with down in Greenville, South Carolina. So South Carolina School District. Similar situation. They loaned out 58,000 Chromebooks to their students. They ended up losing 5,000 of those devices. And once again, it's because they were trying to track this stuff manually in Excel. That's the mistake that a lot of these school districts make. And so the situation got so bad, Rick, to the point where the schools had to start filing felony lawsuits against the parents because the Chromebooks were not getting returned. And so, as you can see, things got completely out of control. Schools were losing money left and right. And this is a serious issue in the education space, and we're here to help.
And, the pandemic, of course, really the impetus for this. But now that the pandemic is over, you get a lot of these school systems that are understanding the value of students having those devices. You don't have to sit there and have students take notes in a notebook anymore. You don't have to sit there and have students fill out paper copies of an exam anymore. You don't have to have students, when they're trying to do research, they have to hope that they have a few minutes in between classes or can go over to the library. The students can have those student devices on them. It's a much different digital world, even when you're back in the classroom setting. So again, I can imagine that these school systems that have these thousands upon thousands of student devices, and Excel is everybody's enemy, unless you're an accountant.
No question.
Excel is your enemy. So having that, it really does offer, it's both accountability, but it's also peace of mind, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And, it just gives these schools an automated system to put all of their assets, all of their computers, laptops, whatever they deem valuable. It just gives them an automated, safe, space to track their assets. And I'll give you another quick fun fact. So there was another client that I was working with up in Washington State. As a matter of fact, it was Spokane Public Schools. And their situation got so out of hand that they reported that some of their kids were literally trying to resell their Chromebooks on Amazon. So, I'm telling you, Rick, this stuff is really getting out of control, but our technology can help these schools get it under control.
And that's amazing. And amazing that you're able to help them get it under control, but even more amazing that students would be that brazen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a whole different world. It really is. And especially with digital technology and the digital commerce today, it really is. It's almost like you walk down the street, you could grab a cell phone out of somebody's hands and you can have cash for it in 15 minutes. That's scary. Knowing that you're able to have their backs like that is really good. Now we focused a lot on education, and obviously that's a really big vertical for us here at DALY, but we're also very big in the state and local government space. So, does your solution translate over to the government area as well?
Yeah, for sure. No question about it. In fact, I've worked with quite a few state and local clients throughout the United States. One of my largest customers is the state of New Jersey. And I don't know if you know or not, but they have a lot of different departments throughout that organization. I think they've got well over 40 different business units. And each department is kind of responsible for tracking their own inventory. And so their biggest issue was actually passing audits. And so every year, towards the end of the year, it would take them nearly 2 months just to prepare for their state audits. And again, why is that happening? Is because they were trying to track this stuff in Excel. That seems to be the common theme. And so at the end of the day, they were just wasting way too much time trying to get prepared for those audits each year. And it just got to the point where they weren't very productive during that time of the year, solely due to audits. So the solution was, they finally, kind of broke their bad habits. They did some research. They found out about Wasp. And once we implemented our asset tracking solution, we reduced their audit time from 2 months down to 1 day. So think about that. We literally freed up 59 working days for the state of New Jersey, right? So we completely, turned their productivity around. And not only that, now they have more overall continuity with their different departments because they have one centralized system, one database, and everybody has visibility as to what's going on in the system.
That's incredible. So obviously we've talked about peace of mind, we talked about accountability, but then the efficiency portion of it isn't even something that was registering with me, but now it makes total sense because like you said, if you're not sitting there trying to match things up to what's in an Excel spreadsheet, and I hate to pick on the fine folks at Microsoft because they're a partner of ours as well. But again, I'm a word guy, not a numbers guy. So Excel always scares me. But when you're trying to do that in a spreadsheet, it's a very manual process. So the fact that you can come in and automate this process and save time, save effort, that's cost savings right there. When you talk about the people hours that you're not having to pay for, you can't just be one person tracking all this stuff either.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's brutal. It's time consuming. It's unnecessary. It's antiquated. So, that's kind of our mission statement at Wasp is we're trying to take these clients from a manual, tedious tracking process to an automated barcode tracking solution. So, we're trying to help these clients take their business to the next level.
So speaking of the next level, got to do a little bit of homework on this stuff. And so I was looking into, the whole asset and inventory management side of things. And one of the buzz terms that kept coming up was RFID. Can you talk to us a little bit about what RFID is and whether or not Wasp has any of those type of solutions that are maybe coming down the road?
Yeah, so RFIDs has actually been a kind of a game changer for a lot of our clients. So RFID is really just a faster way to scan barcodes. So I like to call RFID technology, I like to call it the magic wand, because what you can do with the technology is that you can walk into a room, you can wave your RFID scanner around the room, and it literally automatically captures every barcode in the room, okay, within seconds, within minutes, whatever the case may be. So that's the difference between RFID and barcode, because with barcodes, you have to scan each tag individually. With RFID, you just wave the magic wand, it captures everything in the vicinity. So that's the difference. And RFID has been an absolute game changer. So, and to give you an example, we did an implementation with Dillard's, which is the popular clothing store. And before we introduced them to the RFID technology, it was taking two of their staff members, so two of their employees, it was taking them 4 hours just to do an inventory count of the clothing and the shoes and stuff like that. And come to find out, they were only capturing about 60% of the items because they were missing scans, they were missing barcodes, whatever the case may be. Now, once we implemented the RFID technology, their inventory counts were reduced down to 20 minutes with one staff member, one employee. So think about that. With barcodes, we took them from 4 hours with two people, switched them to RFID. Now their counts are only taking 20 minutes with one person doing the scans. And the accuracy increased from 60% up to 80%. So not only did the RFID save them time, but we also increased the accuracy of the audits. So it's been amazing.
Wow. And obviously, again, something that could easily be transferred over into the educational and government space, right?
No question about it, across the board.
And when you think about that, because again, what are we always trying to do? We're always trying to save time. We're always trying to save money, and we're trying to save headaches. Nobody likes headaches. And so what you're putting out here is, it's not just time savings. It's not just cost savings when you talk about efficiency. It's also accuracy. And, again, reducing those headaches of sitting there and trying to figure out, okay, so why is it only 60% or why is it only 40%? What did I miss? And then you have to go back over everything and do all that again. Obviously, the automated process really, really helps with that when it comes to understanding where you're at and where you should be and trying to bridge that gap, right?
No question about it. Yeah, there's just so many different benefits to an automated tracking solution, whether it's barcode, whether it's RFID, because don't, make no mistake, using standard barcodes, that's a great solution as well. That's much better than using Excel. It's just that RFID just takes it to the next level.
So it really does give an option as far as like stepping up. I'm using Excel today, so I could go to barcodes, or I could make the bigger leap and I could go to RFID. You've got different solutions that you can offer.
Absolutely. And both are much better than using Excel. That's what I want people to know. So if you're out there, if you're a school district, if you're, government, if you're healthcare, manufacturing, distribution, whatever the case may be, this stuff works across the board. If you're out there using Excel spreadsheets in 2023 to track your valuable inventory, I'm here to tell you, we've got a solution that can turn your business around, save you money, save you time. And that's what we're here to do.
Fantastic. Now, Ray, let me ask this. What is the competitive space in your area? Who are your largest competitors and how do you differentiate yourself from them?
So I'm going to be honest with you. We don't have a whole lot of competition. I mean, we've got some other software companies out there, but to be honest with you, our biggest competitor is actually Excel spreadsheets. Seriously, because, at the end of the day, our technology is designed to help customers get away from Excel and make their lives easier. And like I said before, even in 2023, a lot of companies, I think over 50%, are still making the mistake of using pen and paper, Excel spreadsheets, and they're paying the price for it. So to be honest with you, Rick, Excel is our biggest competitor.
So the differentiation between you and Excel is kind of like the temperature difference between the coldest day in Alaska and the warmest day in Hawaii, right?
Basically, yeah. To sum it up, you've got one or two options. Either continue to use Excel and lose money, lose time, right? Or switch to a Wasp automated tracking solution, save time, save money, and it's going to completely turn your business around. You're going to be more productive. You're going to use less man hours. So it's a game changer.
And obviously, you come in and you implement this solution. There's going to be somewhat of a learning curve. Do you guys offer the initial training, ongoing support? How does that work for an organization that's looking to make this leap?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. So for the most part, we do offer free tech support for most of our products. So that includes the cloud software, any hardware that you purchase. But, just so you know, we do have an on-premise version of our cloud software. So that's for like clients who need to install the software locally, host their own data. And so there is a yearly maintenance fee in the second year. So you get the first free or the first year of tech support free with our on-premise software. And then starting in year two, we do charge yearly maintenance, which gives you continued tech support, upgrades, patches, and things of that nature. Okay. So for the most part, tech support is free, but with our on-premise solution, there is yearly maintenance starting in year two. Okay. Just so you know. And then as for the training, we do offer paid training, both web training and on site, whichever you prefer. The web training is purchased in 2 hour blocks. We do record those sessions if you need to go back and watch it. And then for on site training, those are purchased in 12 hour blocks. And so our trainer would literally fly out to your location and they would do one full 8 hour day plus a second day that's 4 hours.
So you do that on site?
Yeah, that's an option. We can either do remote or we can fly to your location. So, whichever you prefer.
And, I know a lot of people, obviously virtual is the big thing nowadays, but particularly sometimes when you're looking at applications, when you're looking at things that are physical to the touch, it's a little tough to get, to understand everything when you're basically looking at a picture of somebody on a screen. So having somebody in that, in that space who can provide that, that hands-on, training and you physically touch it, you see it, you can ask the questions right then and there, because how many times have we tried to ask questions on virtual calls where people are tripping over each other trying to, oh, no, you go. No, you go. At least in person, you're able to sort all that.
Yeah, no question about it. The on-site training option, it definitely gives you more of a hands-on, touch. For example, let's just say you're going to a distribution center, to train a client, and maybe the clients, they want to show you the ins and outs of their warehouse. Maybe they want to show you exactly specifically how they need to track their inventory, and they want to take you for a tour around their building and show you their operations, right? So yeah, there's a huge advantage to the on-site training. It's just up to the company.
Right. Yeah. And especially certain people, certain organizations, they're still a little skittish about having people in, although, we're certainly keeping fingers crossed that things have now at least gotten away from that. The level of, I don't want to say paranoia, because it wasn't really paranoia, the level of hesitancy that we used to have when COVID was in full swing. Now I think people are starting to relax a little bit more. We certainly, love the ability to get back together face to face and have these face to face meetings and meet together. So let me ask this: if somebody wanted to implement this type of solution, what's the typical implementation time?
So that's really subjective, to be honest with you. There's a lot of different factors. So how many users need to be in the system is a big factor. So whether you've got 5 people in the software or 50, that's going to make a difference. Another factor is going to be how many items you need to track in the system. That's going to be a big factor in terms of implementation time. And then also whether or not you go with the cloud version of our software, which is a much easier implementation because you just go into a website, or whether you're physically installing the software with our on-premise version. So a lot of different factors, but on average, implementation doesn't take very long. I would say within 1 to 2 weeks, most of our clients are up and running. But just to kind of clarify, it really depends on the situation, though, to be honest.
Right. And I was figuring on that. I always like to give any listeners who are contemplating a solution just an idea of the factors that they have to think about.
Sure. And speaking of, you also have to account for hardware. So if you've got printers and, barcode labels and scan devices that you need to set up and pair, all of that factors in. But yeah, typically 1 to 2 weeks, should get it done.
Terrific. And then knowing that there's a cloud-based solution, I know a lot of people are on the fence about the cloud. I for one am a cloud person. I don't think it's because I live in the clouds. I try to keep my feet on the ground, but really just, the cloud to me is a great option because again, you don't have to worry about device failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I always go back to simple analogies. I remember the old days when you used to crack your mobile phone and you had to get a new mobile phone. My goodness, you had to sit there for 2.5 hours in the mobile store. I had to sit there with Verizon for 2.5 hours while they downloaded all the data off of my old phone and then put the data back into my new phone, and not all of it would transfer because the operating system was different. Is, oh my goodness. And now I've got iCloud. So my iPhone simply, when I get a new iPhone, it backs it up, it puts everything back in there, and I don't have to worry about it. So, to me, having that cloud-based option is definitely an additional peace of mind because, again, that you run the risk of hardware failure, and knowing that there's a cloud option that always helps.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. Just so we host our data with AWS, so Amazon Web Services. So your data is definitely safe. But yeah, clouds, it's a much more convenient option for sure. Most clients do go to the cloud, do prefer the cloud nowadays. But I will say for certain verticals, like government, education, whatever the case may be, they tend to have cloud restrictions. And so they're still, going to the on-premise software. And so we do have the on-premise version for government, for education, for verticals like that as well.
Terrific. Now, one last question. We've whet people's appetite. We've shown them the cost savings. We've shown them the time savings. We've shown them the efficiency, the accuracy. Yeah, I have to think that we're getting some people that are starting to have the wheels turn and say, this really could be a way for me to take the spreadsheet and get rid of the spreadsheet and make things better and more efficient and more accurate and not cost so much when it comes to time and money. If somebody's interested in getting started or even just learning more, maybe getting, a demonstration, how would they get that started?
Sure. So that part's easy. Just reach out to your sales rep at DALY. And they're experts with our technology. And so they'll get you taken care of. They'll get your questions answered. They'll get the web demonstration scheduled. We can get you trial software if you want to play around with it. So yeah, we can get you taken care of. Reach out to DALY and, your sales rep will get you everything you need.
Terrific. And of course, when they give us a call, when they go to our website and fill out the contact form, any way that they want to get in touch with us, we'll make sure, of course, that we're looping you guys in as quickly as possible because we have some very fine folks here, but we want to make sure that they're talking to you as well. So we'll make sure that we make those conversations happen. Ray, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
That pretty much sums it up. But again, I'll just say, to all of the companies out there, the businesses, the schools, healthcare clinics, distribution centers, whoever you are out there, it's 2023. Lots of organizations are still losing money. They're losing time. They're not as productive as they should be. And, give Wasp a call. Give us a call. Reach out to your DALY sales representative. And ask about the inventory and asset tracking solutions because we can save you a ton of time, a ton of money, and we can change the way you do business today. It's a no-brainer. We appreciate your time.
Excellent. Ray, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you sharing all that info.
No problem. Anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Technology Pulse podcast produced by DALY. Before we go, we would like to remind you of a few legal considerations. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of DALY or its leadership. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide legal, financial, or other professional advice. The content of this podcast is protected by copyright laws and may not be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted without the written permission of Daily Computers Inc. Any products, services, or other references mentioned in this podcast are for informational purposes only, and do not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Daily. Thank you again for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us at marketing@daly.com.